If I had to name one thing about BNSF that really stands out to me, it would have to be their grain shuttles. Though I've often caught myself thinking of them as the most boring type of train you can find, I suppose that has to do with the fact that I'm just used to them. For a time, they were pretty unique among America's railroads. Most everyone else was content to haul grain in hodgepodge assortments of hoppers, but not good old BNSF. Nothing says success quite like a mile of uniform hopper cars with your logo on them rolling down the rails. Until recently, BNSF was the only railroad to use this practice, but CSX has also been assembling their own uniform grain shuttles as of late, like this one, seen by Ace Railroad Productions in Plymouth, Michigan. The evening of March 28, 2016 was graced with one of Oklahoma's signature breathtaking sunsets, along with one more freight train heading north through downtown Norman. This one a mixed freight, headed up by 6 of BNSF's finest GEs, and a token EMD SD70 ACE thrown in for good measure. My first railfanning of the month of April was a catch I almost missed. I arrived at Lindsay Street Crossing in South Norman with seconds to spare before the Fort Worth to Chicago Z train was on me. I only got one leg of the tripod down in time. That was all she wrote for April 2nd, but the next day would prove to be much more successful. Back up in downtown Norman, I was greeted with a high green for a southbound. It's truly impressive to see over 8,000 feet of ethanol snake its way through the middle of town. Of note about this train is the DPU, BNSF number 606. This locomotive is designated as an AC-44C4M. Bet you haven't heard of that one yet, right? A former member of Santa Fe's Superfleet, it wore the old war bonnet scheme proudly until 2015, when it was pulled from service and rebuilt as part of a new program in conjunction with General Electric. The locomotive's prime mover was overhauled, and it was converted from DC to AC traction, bringing it up to AC 4400 specs. In addition, the center axle on each bogie lost its traction motor, giving the unit an A1A configuration, like the Gevo ES44C4 model that BNSF is so fond of. The program is aimed to upgrade all of the 600 number series locomotives, most of which still wear their old war bonnet paint from Santa Fe days. It will likely finish off most of the old Superfleets still wearing their original paint. After a lengthy wait between trains, the next one arrived. Yet another grain shuttle, led by an EMD SD70 Ace. Following close behind the grain train was the best catch of the day, an officer's special returning to company headquarters in Dallas. Compared to freight cars, those old passenger coaches are practically silent. A great way to conclude April 3rd's railfanning, if I do say so myself. So good, in fact, that I decided to go out one more time the next day. April 4th began for me when I heard what I thought was an SD70 ACE leading a train south. I headed south to Noble in pursuit, which would prove an easy chase. The train was stopped holding the main at the south end of Noble siding because of crews working near the switch. It wasn't a long delay, but it was just enough to get me in a good position at Cemetery Road. The signals lit up, and so did his headlights. I could have sworn that I heard the usual SD70 Ace air horn when he went through Norman, so I was just a little disappointed to find a -9 on point. Maybe I just heard him wrong. maybe I didn't. For some reason or another, number 5275's original K3LA had been swapped for a K5 LLA. First time I've ever seen a Dash 9 with one of those on it. I took a chance on catching him one more time a couple of miles south as he descended into the South Canadian River Valley, and thanks to the slow order through the work site, I got there with time to spare. Way down there, just before that slight curve, is the bridge over the river. Someday I'd like to get down there and film at the bridge, but access to that spot is pretty tough to get. Someday, but not today. My target for the day was Purcell. Situated about 15 miles south of Norman as the crow flies, Purcell is significant as the point that this rail line was completed. In the late 1800s, there were two railroad companies working to complete the route that is now the Red Rock Sub. The Gulf, Colorado, and Santa Fe Railway, a subsidiary of ATSF, came from the south, and the Southern Kansas Railway from the north, and they linked up here in 1887. A town site and rail yard was established, and it was named Purcell in honor of E.B. Purcell, one of ATSF's directors at the time. The town flourished as a transportation hub in the first half of the 20th century. The Oklahoma Central Railroad arrived here in 1907, but the line went bankrupt within a year and was acquired by the ATSF. The second rail line has been abandoned since the 1930s, but its economic impact was lasting. Purcell had become one of the largest cotton distribution centers in the state, along with many other forms of trade. If it came from south central Oklahoma, it came through here. Another major point of progress in the town's history was the 1938 construction of the James C. Nance Memorial Bridge, which carries U.S. Highway 77 across the deep South Canadian River Valley to link Purcell on the west bank to the town of Lexington on the east bank. At 3,162 feet, it is one of the longest bridges in the state of Oklahoma. Recently, concerns have arisen about the structural integrity of the old deck truss bridge, prompting a temporary closure in 2014 to make improvements. There are plans in the works to replace the bridge possibly by the year 2018, though I for one am more than happy to see them stalled. The Jim Nance Bridge makes a spectacular historic backdrop for the trains. Except when there aren't any. There was little in the way of activity besides some crews working down at the south end of the quiet Purcell yard, but after a few hours of waiting, there was finally a headlight in the distance. And it sure took its time getting to me. It entered the siding and crawled up to the crews before stopping and, to my surprise, entering the usually vacant yard tracks. Locomotives are always getting more advanced, even in the smallest of aspects. I've never heard of an automatic handbrake before, but I guess you learn something new every day. Even with the nice advancements on the locomotive, the freight cars have yet to catch up. The conductor still has to ratchet those brakes down by hand. This train's cargo was destined at least in part for the siding in Norman. Part of the jointed rail on that siding was replaced with ribbon rail shortly after this was filmed. The crew was headed out, and I wasn't far behind. I guess I'll just have to wait for another day to shoot a train going under that bridge. Before I end this video, I have a couple more catches I want to throw in. I'm a meteorology student currently, and that means going out on storm chases. A nice side effect of going out to see the storms is getting to see trains outside of my usual haunts. On a chase on the afternoon of March 30th, I wound up in Davis, Oklahoma. While waiting for the storms to roll our way, I managed to catch one of the only honest-to-goodness coal trains I've ever seen on the Red Rock Sub. While I'm at it, I'll throw in one more. Another chase on April 24th took me off to northwestern Oklahoma. Our storm chase was a bust, but at least I managed to catch this hotshot Z train on the BNSF Transcon at Avard, Oklahoma. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.